Okay, hi, this is Matt Slay. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the FoxPro developer environment, the FoxPro IDE. This is Visual FoxPro 9. So I just want to put together this little quick demo of how the form designers work and the class libraries that are a really important part of FoxPro projects. We have this project manager in FoxPro where we can list any DBF tables that are used in the app, and then the documents tab, which has forms and reports in it. This is a real working form in my business, or project in my business. You can see I probably have about 50 forms reports there, and in the forms tab I have 40 or 50 individual forms that go there. If I open up any one form, this is a very popular form in my app. If I double click it and open it up, close down this code window. So here is the form designer in FoxPro. And what you see here is really a lot of containers dropped onto this one form. Pretty much everything on this form is a custom container class that within it contains other FoxPro native classes, custom classes as it is, because even my text boxes are subclassed from the native FoxPro classes. But every one of these, as you can see by the little box that's drawn around it, is a container with more controls in it. I would never take on my form and manually drag in like a single label and an individual text box for it, as well as labels and combos, or here's a date control that has 4 or 5 different things involved in popping up a date format. Here's a little edit container that has a label and a zoomer and a larger thing. So all of these, of course, move around. There's a surface order. You can increment it with your keyboards. You can move to the front, move to the back, really common things like that. Even this little toolbar up at the top is a container with stuff in it. Even this page frame down here, the whole page frame itself is a class off in the class library, and then that class is brought and dropped into this one form. Okay, all of that, if I just hit the delete button, that whole class and all of its contents went away. Okay, I can go inside of any of these containers. I can do right click and edit, and now all of a sudden I'm working within there, and I can take and resize these controls. I can even go to the FoxPro properties window, and for that one selected control inside of this container, I can go to that edit box object right there, and I can set properties on it, the font, the width, the height, any custom properties that would have been added to it, because of my customization. The methods that go for that would be here. You see some of them have inherited code from their base class that they came from, but I could also just double click on that edit box right there, and as you see, this is code. I could now type in some code, some real FoxPro code, not that, but real code here, and then that would persist within this one instance of this edit box on this form, and at runtime this code is alive and well in the app. Let me delete that out and close this down. So that's a little quick tour around a form and the things that are in it. So if I close the form down, and now I want to go and show you the class libraries themselves. These individual classes that are used on those forms, everybody in the whole FoxPro space is very meticulous to sort of break out their UI pieces into this visual class library, these VCXs. And so mine, back over here in my project on the classes tab, you see I have mine called LM classes, labor management classes. That's my application's name. So if I expand it right here, I can see all the individual classes listed in here. Good grief. I mean, what is that? Over 100 individual UI classes, right? And that are there. So if I double click that though, out of the project, it'll open up sort of a special navigation tool, which is called the class browser. And it allows me to go in and see some hierarchy, because often you might be 2 or 3 subclass levels away from the native FoxPro classes. You first make one subclass and then maybe a second subclass, that adding more and more functionality as you get the class ready to use on certain forms. So like I'll show you a specific one that we were looking at, here's the item controls. Okay, so this one little container has several buttons in it, and in most of my apps there's a grid or multiple grids, and one of these UI containers, this items controls class, can be dropped onto the form, and then there was some wiring. I can bind these UI controls up in this container class to activity on that grid or on that form. And so instead of dragging these individually into the form every single time, I just have a class of these things, and I go in there and drop one on the form and use it that way. And then if I make any changes to it, well, I come here and change it, and then those changes are propagated through every instance of this throughout my app. And you can see there are dozens of them. Here's a very complicated. This is a container custom control right here. I mean, it's like almost a form all by itself. But this is just one little piece. If we go back and look at this form that I have to close it because it's used. If we go back and look at this form, here's this page frame, and if I say edit and I go to this page, this control that you see right here, this is that control I just showed you. That control class is dropped on this page frame class, not here in the form, but over in the page frame class. And then finally, this page frame class is dropped here. So you can filter back in the VCX class browser. If I come to page frames, for instance, well, these are all the individual page frames within my app. And so if we go back, I think that one was this. So here's that one page frame where the different pages, every one of these pages is preloaded. There's that control again. And all of these, move around as a single control within this class. And if I want to put it there, let's see. Oh, I can't even remove it because it's part of the class. You cannot delete. I'd have to go all the way back down to the lowest base of the class. I think that'd be this one. Yeah, if I come here, if you delete it off of there, I'm still not far enough down. You have to get to the lowest piece of it before you can remove it. Oh, there we go. So, if I delete that whole container class out of there, well, if I come back to my class browser and I say, oh, I want to put that, what was it? It's a container. So let me go find all of the, go to the containers. It's called like a job schedule container. There's that container that we just deleted, and here it is in the class library. And you see it shows you all of the individual controls that are in it. If I click it here, then over here in this side panel, it shows me the various command buttons, text boxes, blah blah. You can see sort of what's all in it. If I double click it, you'll see it again. So this is that class. It has method code on it. As you can see, there are multiple methods defined. So if you look at the code, this is the code that's on this class, the container class. And so these objects can call up to that method, or even the form can call these methods on this container once it's dropped on a form. Regardless, if I want to get it back in there, select it right here, and I click this little control, and when I come and drop it, it'll put an instance of that whole entire goodness of that container, right here on my form, or I'm right here on this class. As it turns out, I'm just nesting these things together. This is still a class right here that I've built up. It probably has 20 classes in it. Okay, so finally, you build all these individual classes in a very, very granular way, and then you will use them. I'll go to this job center. This is a different form, but yet you see this page frame is still present right here, and the same control that you saw in the jobs form, well, here it is in job center, which is a slightly different view. So this is why it's really important in FoxPro for us to be able to have these containers with objects in them, and then they are reused repeatedly throughout the whole app. And being able, even way up here at this form, I could go and on this one field checkbox, I can go even here on this instance and change the caption of this thing to, say some other caption, right? And I can override that form, that caption of that checkbox right here in this form. And there really isn't any code behind for all this. It's persisted in the FoxPro SCX file, and it's simply listed as a property. and it's in that DBF version of the file. And the only real way I have to get to it through the FoxPro IDE is to use this property windows to set stuff like that. And they kind of break out all the properties based on their type. So there's layout and methods and different things. I don't really use a lot of this. I'm usually in the all button and just kind of the all tab and kind of navigate through all of them that way. But that's just what I wanted to give you a little quick insight about how exhaustive the use of these FoxPro UI classes are. And there's no way that any one of these forms over here in this project, there's no way that one of these forms will work or run by itself, as you still see these containers inside of here. This is one big container right here, and then inside of here are the other individual containers. There's another container with stuff inside of it. So there's a lot of nested containership that goes on, and these are resizable containers. At runtime, those things can be moved up and down. It'll adjust and drag. I think this is it. Yeah, these because those things are panel driven like they are. These things can move up and down and resize the app, and it's quite fluid. But this is a running instance of this form, by the way. So I was showing you previously the designer, all of it, but this is it running. This is this app running in real time, and you see, maybe some sense of what the app looks like and how these containers and things are alive there. Anyway, hopefully I've given you some insight about it. If this prompts you to ask me any more questions about this FoxPro developer stuff, please, just let me know.